Can we start?
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello, good afternoon.
Sarah, well, Marshall, can we already start? I'll give you the cue so that I can also give the cue to the moderator to have our webinar broadcasted live in Facebook and YouTube.
Can we start, sir?
Are you ready? So that I can already give the cue to the moderator to have it live in FB and YouTube.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sarah, well, you can start.
Good afternoon. Before we will begin our webinar, allow me to read the following guidelines to have a smooth flow of our program. First, kindly mute your microphones and make sure that it remains in a mute mode, especially when someone else is speaking. Second, you may opt to turn off your video function to maximize the internet bandwidth. Third, during our open forum, please use the raise hand function and wait for the moderator to recognize you for your questions. Lastly, you may also use the chat box for your queries and concerns. I hope that the guidelines provided will be followed for the smooth and successful webinar. Thank you. Amidst health crisis, teachers and educators continue to look for ways and means to improve the quality of teaching and deliver the quality of education to our students. This afternoon, we will continue to work and give the best hope to our children's future. Together with the officers of the Council of the Deans for Humanities, Social Sciences, Communication, and Social Work programs in Region 9, deans and heads of the different universities and colleges, units, allow me to greet you a pleasant afternoon. Also, allow me to greet the officials of the Commission on Higher Education, headed by its Regional Director, Dr. Rodi P. Garcia, Senior Education Specialist, Dr. Jacinta Tan, and the ever-active, dynamic, and workaholic Education Supervisor 2 of the Commission on Higher Education Region 9 Office, Dr. Samir A. Kasim. A pleasant afternoon. This afternoon's session is the third of series of webinars for Council of the Deans for Humanities, Social Sciences, Communication, and Social Work programs in Region 9 with the theme Syllabus Making, Core Enhancement Skills. To start with, let us begin with a doxology through an audiovisual presentation.
Lead me, Lord, lead me by the hand and help me face the rising sun. Comfort me through all the pain that life may bring. There's no other hope that I can lean upon. Lead me, Lord, lead me all my life. Walk by me across the lonely roads that I may face. Take my arms and let your hand show me the way. Show the way to live inside your heart. my life. You are my light. You're the lamp upon my feet. All the time, my Lord, I need you there. You are my light. I cannot live alone. Let me stay by your guiding love all through my life. Lead me, Lord. Lead me, Lord. Even though at times I'd rather go alone my way. Help me take the right direction. Take your road. Lead me, Lord, and never leave my side. All my days, all my life. You are my light. You're the lamp upon my feet. All the time, my Lord, I need you there. You are my light. I cannot live alone. Let me stay by your guiding love all through my life. You are my light. You're the lamp upon my feet. All the time, my Lord, I need you there. I just cannot live. Let me stay by your guiding love all through my life, all through my days. So lead me, oh Lord. Lead me.
Everyone, I would like to request everyone to have a 1 minute of silence and offer a little prayer to the eternal repose of the soul of the mother of Dr. Jacinta Tan, who has just passed away this 3 a.m. May the soul of the mother of Dr. Jacinta Tan rest in peace. Sir Dowell Marshall, you can proceed.
To formally open this program, let us all welcome Dr. Robin A. de los Reyes to give us the welcome remarks and as well as the acknowledgement of our participants.
To yes, okay. To our ever efficient and passionate education supervisor for humanities, social science, and communication programs, Dr. Shamir Kasim. To our guest speaker for this webinar on syllabi making, Dr. Joseph Repullo. To the officers of the Council of Deans for Humanities, Social Science, and Communication Programs of Region 9. To all our attendees today, a pleasant afternoon and welcome to our third webinar with the theme, Syllabus Making Core Enhancement Skills. I believe this topic is very important as changes in our syllabi will have to be made to match with the ways classes will be carried out at this time of the pandemic. For the faculty, the planning for the classes will begin with and should be reflected in the syllabi foremost. So I would like to encourage our attendees to listen very carefully and to maximize the presence of our speaker by asking questions later when you have clarifications. Just like the first two webinars, I am optimistic that this is going to be another successful webinar. Thanks to all of you for helping make the webinar successful. In a very special way, on behalf of the Council, I would like to thank Dr. Refugio for taking the time to share with us his expertise. Dr. Refugio, thank you so much. Again, good afternoon and enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Dr. Robin de los Reyes, for that warm welcome and words of wisdom. Before we proceed to the next part of our program, let me give you the rationale of the topic which will be presented by our speaker this afternoon. The syllabus, the rationale for our program this afternoon is syllabus making outcomes-based education. The topic is meant to orient higher educational institutions, deans and program heads and coordinators of USUCOM programs on how to write an outcomes-based syllabus incorporating the three basic modalities in the new normal education paradigm shift. At this juncture, may we call in Dr. Shamir Kasim, Education Supervisor 2 of CHED Region 9, for the introduction of our webinar speaker. Dr. Shamir.
Yes, sir. Our speaker is currently the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences and Teacher Education and Business Education of the St. Vincent's College Incorporated. He has strong foundation in teaching business, management, and research. He updates his education, business, and managerial knowledge in both private and public sectors as he pursued graduate studies in business administration. He holds a doctorate degree in management, major in educational management from University of San Jose Recoletos, master's degree in business administration at St. Vincent's College, and finished his bachelor's degree in commerce, major in accounting, Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education, major in mathematics, and Bachelor of Science in Hotel and Restaurant Management, respectively, at St. Vincent's College Incorporated. He is a certified fellow in business education, conferred by the Philippine Academy of Professional and Business Education. He is a certified hospitality professional, given by the Institute of Tourism and Hospitality Professionals, UK, and he was elevated to diplomate in business education, the highest level of accreditation by the Philippine Academy of Professional in Business Education. He had participated in various international conferences and educational benchmarking studies in Brisbane, Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, Taiwan, Brunei, and Thailand in 2011, 2016, 17, 18, and 2019. International Conference of the Asia Pacific Council on Hotel, Restaurant, and Institutional Education in Hong Kong in 2011. Australian Leadership Fellow in Brisbane, Australia in 2011, and passage to ASEAN General Membership Assembly in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Visiting lecturer at Asian Institute of Cambodia, Kingdom of Cambodia, and an international speaker at Polytechnic Piksi Ganesha, Bandung, Indonesia. His research interests include corporate governance, hospitality and tourism, employees' satisfaction, development needs and performance. He has presented research papers in the regional and national conferences. As a business professional, he had served on numerous committees, board of directors, vice president for Mindanao of the Philippine Council of Deans and Educators in Business, 2012 up to the present. He had served as regional council president of the Council of Deans and Heads in Business Management Education in Zamboanga Peninsula, now Council of Business and Management Education of Zamboanga Peninsula, from 2015 up to the present, and also the founding president of the Council of Tourism and Hospitality Educators of Zamboanga Peninsula. He has been appointed as a member of the Regional Quality Assessment Team in Business Education and recommended by the Commission on Higher Education as one of the third batch national assessors for the Institutional Sustainability Assessment. In 2018, he was elected as president by the Philippine Council of Deans and Educators in Business year 2019-2020 and vice president of the Passage to ASEAN Philippine chapter. Dr. Refugio is also active in pastoral apostolate, serving as the diocesan chairperson of the Confraternity of Christian Doctrine Commission on Catechesis. An educator, a researcher, and a business professional. Please help me welcome our speaker, Dr. Joseph G. Refugio.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sham, for that generous introduction. And my high respect to our energetic and athletic OIC CHED Regional Director, Dr. Rodi P. Garcia, to our ever active and supportive CHED Education Supervisor, Dr. Shamir R. Kasim, to our CHED Education Supervisor are present this afternoon, deans, program heads, council officers, state teachers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Let me share first my presentation. Good afternoon again, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, let me start with my presentation of the quote of Robin Sharma. He said, "We have a normal as you move outside of your comfort zone. What was once the unknown and frightening becomes your new normal." July 31, 2020 is one of the frightening dates which everybody are cramming and juggling for the completion of the syllabi and modules for all courses in our respective institution, which is due for submission to CHED. So we all felt discomforts, exercising and acting outside our comfort zones, but we have to act to survive in these pandemic times. This is for survival, especially for private HEIs. So we have to survive and we have to cram, we have to jug in order to meet all the requirements. So my presentation this afternoon is divided into different subtopics. We have major reasons why there is a need to revise and enrich our syllabi. Second, we are our basis. What are the bases for syllabus? So syllabi revision and enrichment. And of course, we have a brief review of the OBA framework, the elements and suggested format of the syllabus, the details of the syllabus reflecting the flexible learning modalities. The question here is, why is it that there is a need to revise or to review our core syllabus? The first we have to comply with accreditation requirements. So we have known that the accrediting bodies are requiring us to align our syllabus or our syllabi to the accreditation requirements and standards. And of course, the second reason, this is also a result of curriculum revisions. As we have known that in the year 2017, 3 years ago, we have a new PSG required by CHED in order to adapt the new policies and standard of the different programs, academic programs. So we have to revise our syllabi because of this curriculum revisions. And the next we have, of course, to upgrade the relevance of the content. And finally, we have to meet the needs addressing the learning styles of the different generations of our students. And we are now, since we are now in Education 4.0, which focus on innovation and production, and the learners are now in the Generation Z. So what are the bases of for syllabi revisions? One of the bases, of course, accreditation, as I mentioned a while ago. Second basis, we have, of course, the implementation of the K-12 from the Department of Education, the additional of 2 years in the senior high school, grade 11 and grade 12. And of course, the ASEAN 2015, which is implemented 5 years ago. And of course, the CHED Memorandum Order Series 2012, which is the quality assurance of the outcomes-based education. And of course, the proposed CHED Memorandum Order 2020, the implementation guidelines for the flexible learning modalities. So when we talk of accreditation, so in order for the HCI to shape up and move up, there's a need an educational accreditation. So to ensure quality assurance process under which services and operations of educational institutions nor programs are evaluated by external body to determine if the applicable standards are met. Then here comes the K-12. So a lot of courses in the higher educational institution in the tertiary level are now being implemented and being taught in the senior high school, grade 11 and grade 12. So therefore, major adjustments was made of the contents, the learning activities, teaching strategies, and assessment tools implemented. So as we have known, we have here the old Philippine educational system of the country, which is there is a shift to the Philippine qualifications framework, wherein in the Philippine qualification framework, in which higher education is now aligned in the level 6 for the baccalaureate degree, level 7 for post-baccalaureate, and then for level 8 for the doctoral level. Now, we have to take note that in the baccalaureate degree requires higher order of knowledge, skills, and values, as well as in its application and degree of independence. And come next is, of course, the basis for revising our syllabus is, of course, the ASEAN 2015, which was adopted 5 years ago, as I mentioned earlier. So in the ASEAN economic community, it promotes single market product and production base, free flow of professionals, skilled workers, goods, investments, and capital. Next is we have also to base our revisions of the policy and standards on the enhanced quality assurance or QA in the higher education through an outcomes-based and typology based on the quality assurance in the CMO 46 series of 2012. Wherein the HCIs or the policy standards, which implies to private and public higher education in the country in which enhance the quality assurance system of the quality assurance system of the Philippine higher education through learning competency-based standards and the outcomes-based system of quality assurance that is differentiated by type of HEI, wherein the HEI will choose its type, either college, institute, or university for horizontal typology, and while regulated, deregulated, or autonomous for vertical typology. From CHED's Handbook on Typology, Outcomes-Based Education, the institutional sustainability said there are some major shifts and changes to be implemented. One of the major shifts is from purely academic learning, so we have to focus on talent development, wherein our education is to develop learners not only academically, but we have to develop their talents. Next is from academic-centric, the focus of education is to develop learners according to industry demands and industry-oriented teaching and learning. So we have also to gather data from the industry, or what are their standards and what are their skills necessary to hire our graduates, in hiring our graduates rather. And one of the important items is, of course, the focus on producing employees and entrepreneurship. Now we have to change that, and we have to extend our focus and horizon on producing ASEAN and global leaders. And then, of course, from traditional education, we have to shift that to outcomes-based education. Since 2012, this is the hot topic about OBE. And now we have the policies and standards and guidelines in the implementation of the flexible learning coming in. And we have received already a regional order that we have to prepare several documents in order to come up and be ready for our school opening this coming August or September. So from our traditional face-to-face, no, face-to-face education, we have to move now to flexible learning. So this is the major shift in the school year 2020-2021, wherein from traditional face-to-face, we have to move to or adapt the flexible learning. So the flexible learning modalities includes online, blended, and offline. So when we talk of this is already explained by the previous speaker webinars that we have, but we just review for this. We have just a review for online. So online, these are the students, or online teaching and learning accommodate students with stable internet connectivity. So we can apply synchronous teaching and learning, and where faculty and students interact in real time. For blended teaching and learning accommodates students with unstable internet connectivity. So we can apply asynchronous teaching and learning. And this teaching and learning, the faculty and students interact, but not in real time. And the last modality, we have offline. So we in offline accommodate students who that have internet access, and even they do not have mobile devices and other related resources at home. But we assume that all students has its own mobile devices. Kahit infant may mobile devices na siguro, no? So yung mga nandyan sa tertiary level, we assume that they have already mobile devices. So in our case at St. Vincent's College Incorporated, we will be using the modified asynchronous teaching and learning where the students are provided with, of course, with the content and tasks that they need to accomplish within a time frame, and they will either pick up the school or will be delivered to them. Flex model, where also students who work their course curriculum on fluid schedules, and they attend classes depending on the need and their need and situation, especially on this COVID situation. Now, moving on, let us have a quick view of the outcomes-based education framework. So here is the OBE framework that can be found in the Handbook of Typology, Outcomes-Based Education and Institutional Sustainability Assessment. You can find there from the institutional vision, mission, goal, going to the graduate outcome or graduate attributes, going to the program, curriculum mapping, and then of course in the course design. So meaning in designing our course curriculum or course, particularly our curriculum, our syllabus, it must be based and anchored in the school's BMG, programs BMG, institutional outcomes with the graduate attributes, program outcomes, and with curriculum mapping. This framework, in the OBE framework, there's a parallelism or equivalency with the assessment, and meaning there is an we have to align the outcomes and the assessment and evaluation. So assessment should be based in the outcomes of institution, which also corresponds to the institutional assessment. While the course outcomes will be also course assessment, and the basis for, and these are all the basis for the quality improvement as well as the basis in designing and planning of the delivery of the course, which includes the syllabus, teaching methods, learning activities, and assessment tools. Now, this is the moment we'll be discussing now the syllabus. So as we define syllabus is both a document about the course content, goals and elements, and a guide for students to the kind of teaching and learning they can expect in your class. So by the definition alone, we can see that the syllabus is the course content, the course information, the course policy, grading system, everything about the course that we are teaching is in the syllabus. It's in the syllabus. So therefore, the syllabus is the course guide for both teachers and students. Moving on in the elements and suggested format of the syllabus, I would like to inform everyone that the elements and the format on my presentation is not prescriptive in nature. You can exercise your own academic freedom as to the format and elements incorporated in your respective syllabus. So the elements of the syllabus are the following. We have the course information, the school's BMG, the program's BMG, the course learning outcomes, the program outcomes, course description, course outline, teaching strategies, grading and assessment, grading and marking, assessment details, the course policy and other concerns, and we have the references. As I mentioned a while ago, that this is not prescriptive. I know that some of you or some other institutions, they have their own additional elements and format of the syllabus. Now we have the course information. The first element is the course information. This reflects all the preliminary information of the course, from course number, title, contact numbers, course credit, the contact numbers, and of course the email address of the professors or the instructor up to the consultation hours. So everything that the students need to be informed on information about the course should be reflected in the course information. The second and the third element of the school, so again, you can delete this one, but in our case, we incorporate the school's vision, mission, goal, and of course, the program vision, mission, goals, so that our students will know and we can be oriented also our school's vision, mission, and of course, the program's BMG. The fourth element is the program outcomes, reflecting the behavioral terms in the Bloom's taxonomy, which are measurable in nature. As you've seen in the slide, this is an example of our program outcomes in the BS Ed and BA Ed program of St. Vincent's College Incorporated. So I highlighted all those behavioral terms like actualize, manifests, imagine, create, and innovate, practice, demonstrate, and dedicate. So these are some of the behavioral terms under the Bloom's taxonomy, which is also one of the bases for the outcomes-based education. Now the next is we have the course description. When someone reads on it, he can understand the basic content and the coverage of the course. So meaning you have to define and you have to describe the coverage, the description of the course, so that the reader and the students really understand what the basic content and the coverage of the subject. So again, this is an example. This slide is an example of the course description of a particular course assessment of student learning. Then one of the important item or element in the syllabus is the course learning outcome, or in short, we have CLO or CLO. So again, I highlighted the different behavioral terms which connects the program outcomes. And again, it indicates the behavioral terms of Bloom's taxonomy, ensuring that the higher order of thinking skills are reflected on it. So do not settle on the lower level or lower degree of the Bloom's taxonomy, but you have to come up to the higher order thinking skills, like create and evaluate, specifically on the behavioral terms evaluate and create. Next is the course outline. This is our calendar or schedule where outline how will the class will be, the content, the learning activities, resources, and assessment-wise throughout the semester. Now, usually in the course outline, it's composed of columns. I presume that every institution has its own unique course outline. Maybe some adopted 6 columns, or some use 12 columns or 20 columns. But for me, it doesn't matter as long as the important features of the syllabus are present, especially the OBE standard and as well as the new learning modalities that we have under the flexible learning. And in our case, in St. Vincent's College Incorporated, we settled on 4 columns. According to our Vice President for Student for Academic Affairs, that's as much as possible, we have to simplify the syllabus for the teachers to be not so difficult for them to prepare. So we settled on 4 columns, provided that the important items based on the description of the course outline are all indicated. So the topic and time allocated can be found in the first column. The second column indicates the specific objectives, while the student learning outcomes are indicated in the third column. The fourth column is quite tasking because it incorporates the learning activities, the resources, and assessment. Next, we have we have to discuss first the student learning outcomes. We need to discuss the details of the first column, which we have the time allocation and the topics. And then, of course, we have the specific objective of the topic, and then the student outcomes or the student learning outcomes. Some they're using student intended learning outcomes. This is one of the important items in the course outline. This is one of the indicator, no, that the syllabus has an alignment with the OBE framework. And these are written from the student's perspective using clear language that is understandable by the students. Second, it also identified the type and topic of the knowledge to be learned and what level of performance or understanding is expected. Third, it should be measurable. They can be observed and student achievement of them can be assessed, and then it linked to and aligned with the course learning outcomes. These are the components of the SLO: the content, the verb, the context, and the clarity. I have here an example. So apply the process of critical reflection to your learning and teaching practice. So the verb is apply the process of, the content is the critical reflection, while the clarity is to your learning and teaching practice. The context is the entire SLO. Next is, and one of the important items in the fourth column, of course, is the learning activities. So the learning activities, so the teachers, this is the teacher's fundamental tasks, is to get students to engage in learning activities that are likely to result in achieving the outcomes or the intended learning outcomes. It is helpful to remember that what the student does is actually more important than what the teachers does. We have here an example of, I have some examples of the categories of learning activities, but not limited to these categories because there are a lot of examples of learning activities. We have content focus, interactive focus, problem solving, production, reflection, and critical thinking. So I have here some examples. Learning activities, which is content focus, we have example, live lecture, multimedia content, assigned readings. Under interactive focus, we have facilitated synchronous discussion, collaborative sharing, group assignments. We have also problem solving. Example for this, we have simulation, case study, class solution, and consequence. For production, we have infographic, oral summary, 1-minute paper. Then under reflection, example is self-assessment, prior understanding, reflection on learning. And finally, critical thinking, example, response to assigned text, digital story development. So these are some of the examples of the learning activities under those different categories. That's we can use this one in under the fourth column. Then we have also here assessment. Under the fourth column, from learning activities, we have also assessment. Then I try to enumerate here some assessment tools that can be applied of the three modalities, except for informal observations. So we have paper and pencil. This can be applied both on for online, blended, and offline. Journal assessment can be also applied in online, blended, and offline. Performance that can be also applied in online, blended. And there is a question, why is it that can be applied in offline? Because for the students under the offline, they can record their performance and then send to maybe they send to their instructors through USB or some saving devices, and then the teacher can actually check the video presentation. And then we have also portfolio assessment that it can be applied again to all the modalities. Projects can be applied to all modalities. Inventories and reports can be applied except for informal observations that can be applied only for online. Then another item under the fourth column is the learning resources. So I just categorized two learning resources here, the printed learning materials. So maybe example for that, we have modules, textbooks, books, references, and some other learning activity sheets. So any printed materials, learning materials, and then of course the recorded learning materials in digital format. So videos, so that's the recorded learning materials. So these are all applied to the three: online, blended, and offline. So we have here now the sample. So you just try to check the sample here. So of course, in week 1, the first thing first, we have the course orientation. So this table is an example of the course outline reflecting the first 3 columns. Of course, the topics and the time allotted. Actually, there are some format also that the time is 1 column and the topics is another column. But in here, we incorporate the topics and the time allocation. And then we have the specific objectives of the course orientation. And of course, the important item here is the student learning outcomes for the orientation. I highlighted again the different behavioral terms under the Bloom's taxonomy that reflects the intended learning outcome for the students. So we will move now to the next. Here is the fourth column. So I really studied and reflect how many days by in my preparation. So I reflect on how to go about or to reflect the 3 modalities under activities, assessment, and of course the learning resources. So I come up with this presentation. So again, I divide this one, the activities, learning resources, and assessment. So under online, blended, and we have the offline. So we have here, I prepared an activities for online, another activities for blended, and another activity for the offline. So based on our first topic about orientation. So like for example here, you can see I use activities. Actually, this is online. This is hybrid model. So this is in real time using teleconferencing. We use Google Meet in our teleconferencing here in St. Beans College. So of course, getting started, getting to know each other, orientation of the course, including course requirements, learning activities, assigned topic for the oral presentation. And then of course for blended, so again, we are using the asynchronous teaching learning modalities. So we are using the learning management systems CODHSC. And we can also use the email or messenger or Facebook to relay the asynchronous model of teaching and learning. And of course offline, so this is we are now preparing for the modules, learning packets, and then of course we are also requiring our students to have the textbook for the courses if there are some available textbooks or any references. So this is how I design the activities under the 3 modalities. Now, the next is we have the learning resources. So the table indicates the resources and of course the assessment applied in online, blended, and offline. So recalling that this is under orientation week 1. So we have the resources and we have also the access code now for, of course, with the Schoology, the LMS. And then since in the online, you have the hybrid model, you are using teleconferencing, you can do oral presentation. And then, of course, in the blended, you can require them a written or recorded video presentation. The same is true with the offline. So you have the resources, assessment, and for the 3 modalities. Now, that is for orientation. Now, I have here an example for a specific topic and allocation still in week 1. So meaning of measurement and evaluation and assessment, you have types of classroom assessment, and then of course we have the specific objectives, and again, we have to check the student learning outcomes. What have you noticed here? Like for example, the specific objective is to describe and evaluate the meaning and concepts of measurement and evaluation and assessment. You notice there that in the student learning outcomes, the students can evaluate, can describe. So meaning you just repeat and rephrase your specific objective to make it a student learning outcomes. Like the second, to identify, classify, and evaluate. And in student learning outcome, it becomes that students can classify and evaluate, can identify, classify, and evaluate. So that's the sample for the 3 columns. Now, moving on, again, we have the activities, learning resources, and assessment. Again, you can separate, no? You can separate activities, learning activities. You can separate learning resources and assessment. Yeah. Then for every for activities, you have 3 columns. Learning resources, another 3 columns, and assessment, another 3 columns. That make us 9 plus 3. So you have 12 columns total. So again, we have here the sample. You can use flipped classroom. So in the introduction, especially in the hybrid model, you can use Mentimeter. And then of course for blended, again, this is recorded. You can have recorded video uploaded in the LMS, your learning management system use. And then of course, again, for offline, that is giving of assignments by reading materials. No? And of course, the resources, again, you can put the links of some sources of the topics. And of course, which is very, very different in the offline, that you have to give a specific pages of the book, textbook, and a specific chapters or unit of the module given by the student, provided to the students. Next, one of the important, again, is assessment. So here, you notice that in the online, you can again use some platforms. You can use quizzes platform. So under the online, and then of course, again, for blended, you have to create examinations in the LMS, and all answers will be posted in the LMS or sent to by email or messenger. But in the LMS, you can create, and then automatically you can give feedback and notifications of the result of the exam. Then of course, on online, it's really different on the in the offline. So another sample, we have week 8. By the way, in our continuity plan in the college, we are adapting. We are dividing the courses into two. We are dividing the semester into two. So the first 9 weeks will be delivered by four or 3 or 4 courses, and then the remaining remaining 9 weeks will be the remaining courses. So for example, if the student is enrolled 6 courses in a semester, so the first 3 courses will be delivered. He or she focus on the first 3 courses, and the remaining 3 courses will be delivered on the remaining 9 weeks. So that's why we have to adjust our syllabus from week 1 up to week 9. So again, you have the specific objectives. We have the student learning outcomes. Is everybody sleeping? Parang natutulog ang lahat. This is a boring presentation because when we talk of syllabus, maybe this is scary for everybody. So again, we have here the activities, learning resources for the specific topic. Again, the same, we have activities for online, blended, and offline. And then, of course, we have the resources for the 3 modes, and then for assessment. So this is pertaining to the measures of central tendency, interpretation of the scores, the test scores, and the difference between raw scores and test scores. So another important item is, of course, in the syllabus is the teaching strategy. So teaching strategy, this is a generalized plan for a lesson which include structure, desired learner behavior in terms of goals or instructions, and outline of planned tactics necessary to implement the strategy. So this is an example of the teaching strategy. So this is element number 7 of the syllabus that we are adapting here in our school. So this course will utilize varied learning strategies. So you just spill out the discussion there so that the students will also be briefed about the teaching strategies that the teachers are using. Here is an example on how strategy is being presented. No, I have enumerated some, but not limited to. There are a lot of teaching strategies, but we have here the top 6 learning strategies. We have oral reporting. Again, this can be applied. I think this can be applied on all the modes, online, blended, and offline. Assigned readings, visualization, recorded lectures, inquiry-based instructions, and differentiated instructions. So these can be applied in all the modalities. Next, we have grading and marking. This is another important element of the syllabus. This explain on how assessment is done, or this table is you can see that it tells the student on how the assessment is done in the online and blended and in the offline modes, or the grading and how the major components of the class contribute to their final grades, how their grades are computed. This is very important information that should be reflected in our syllabus. So I have enumerated here some parameters, but again, this is not limited to this. You can add more. So we have attendance and active participation, which can be applied to online, blended, and offline. Then we have oral presentation. So of course, it can be only applied to online, or it can be in blended. It's up to you. And we have also reports, we have quizzes and assignments, midterm examinations, final examination, or you may add some other parameters. So again, you just divide to make it the 100%, 100%. But here we are using percentage in our marking. But if you are using also letters in your grading, or you are using numbers 1 to 5, you can also make some other adjustments for this. Then another one is, after grading and marking, we have assessment details. So in assessment details, you have to explain on how the assessment is done in online, blended, and offline modes. So you have an assessment details for online. This is an example of the assessment details for online. So you have to explain, for example, the students are assigned in individual topics for them to research and prepare for an oral presentation discussion in the hybrid online class. So you have to explain or some assessment details under online. And then for, of course, an assessment details for blended. And then another assessment details for the offline. So you have to explain briefly the details of how the students is assessed under offline, blended, and online. Moving on. So we are now 90%, and I am about to finish my presentation. So another important element of the syllabus is the course policy, which is these policies concerning, of course, on attendance, participation, tardiness, academic integrity, missing homework, missed exams, recording classroom activities, food in class, gadgets or laptop use, netiquette, announcement, emails, and other concerns. So here is an example of course policy on attendance. So of course, for online mode, students' attendance is absolutely required. For blended and offline, so mode, so students' attendance is on fluid schedule. But of course, we can also demand attendance for blended, especially when we are using the learning management system. So we have also some policies about announcements. So we have to post announcements, especially on the LMS using the learning management systems on a regular basis. And then, of course, it will appear on your LMS dashboard. So this will be notified by using the online and the blended modality. And of course, for offline, announcement will be done through text messaging, and it can be also done through email. Another important course policy about emails. So usually the emails of our students are not properly done. So we have to check that. And then of course, in this course, we have to use again notification and messages features located in our learning management system. So we can send emails through using our LMS. And of course, we can directly send emails through the email addresses of our students. And we have also policies on netiquette. So for example, when posting on discussion board, chat rooms, so the students should also follow the proper policy prescribed in the netiquette. And then of course, we have the online netiquette. And then we have also policies on class active participation. Example, participation is essential to your success in the class. In online learning, you are required to participate just as if you are were in a face-to-face learning course. So that's the, should we explain this in this particular policy. Then of course, other concerns. This is regarding assignments. Then, of course, the professor reserves the right to return the projects, no? If ever this project did not meet the standards expected. So this should be stipulated in the other concerns. And lastly, we have of course, the references. We have to enumerate all the references of our syllabus. So of course, the sources, no, the sources of the topics, the sources of the particular specific course is either textbooks, ebooks, or links, or from the open educational resources. So I know that this topic is quite boring, but I have here some suggestions in the preparation of the syllabi revision or syllabi making. So one is important is the format. So if you have now your own format, I know that you have your own format in your respective institutions. So you just utilize that format, but you have to see to it that the important elements, especially the OBE standards, and of course the new now is the flexible learning modalities, the online, offline, and blended should be reflected in your own syllabi. So you should agree the standard format in your respective institution. The second important item, of course, is kumakita. So meaning you have to decide the standard, and then of course you have to gather the resources, the references, the available sources, especially updated references, last 5 years, not 10 years, no? So it should be updated. And of course, you have to do the workshop and then select a committee on syllabi revision enrichment. And of course, you have to select the group. So groupings according to specific discipline. So yung mathematics, yung English, language, Filipino, political science, philosophy. So it should be grouping by discipline. So finally, we have to be proactive. So the requirement to do this tedious work, we have to be proactive at all times to confront and address these challenges of the pandemic. We have to act now, not later, because action changes things. So let me end this presentation with the quote of Christine Armstrong that says, "Times of transition are strenuous, but I love them. They are an opportunity to purge, rethink priorities, and be intentional about new habits. We can make our new normal any way we want." Thank you very much. Maraming salamat and God bless.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Refugo. Thank you very much,
Refugio.
Refugio, for that very rich information. For that very rich information and comprehensive discussion. Actually, all of them were asked to to mute their microphone so that when somebody is talking, it will be a smooth flow. So that's why you cannot hear sounds from the other. But
So
anyway,
I'm thinking that everybody is sleeping.
no, no, sir. But that was a very comprehensive discussion about outcomes-based education, and it was actually done part by part, and activities for both online, blended, and offline activities, including the activities, resources, and assessment, and also my plasma for course policy and other concerns. Now, I think we will now proceed to the next part of our webinar, which is the open forum. So I would like to request our participants, if you want to raise your questions, you have here a raise hand function. You can click your raise hand function. We have I have seen one, Ma'am Robbie Bangis from MSU Buog. Ma'am, you're recognized now.
Thank you, Sir Marshall. Good afternoon, Dr. Joseph.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for a very informative and comprehensive discussion on syllabus making. It's very informative and helpful for us. My concern is on assessment.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we are accustomed to do the traditional way. When we give major exams like prelim, midterm, finals, we do it in a pen and paper. So now,
Yes.
could you suggest to us how can be assessment done when we give major exams through online or through blended learning? And how do we verify if our actual students are really the ones who are making the assignments, not others?
Ma'am, when you do online and blended, you can give, of course, both for the three modalities, online, blended, and offline. You can do major examination. You can apply major examination. But of course, for online, you cannot do major examination in real time. Again, you can use the asynchronous model. So meaning, as much as, like for example, if you have, of course, in my own experience, when I gave examination to my student, I gave, for example, if the time limit is, for example, 1 hour, so you give the problem or the case, and then after 1 hour, so he or she has to submit the answer sheet. He can be she can give a screenshot of the answer sheet and send it through Messenger in within a duration of 1 hour. That's my experience. In order to, and then of course, when you give examination in the online in real time, be sure not to give an objective type of examination. You should be creative in giving examination. I always give case analysis when I do this online examination and asynchronous examination, because I know that there are a lot of answers in the web, especially explanation and definition. You can the students can browse automatically, and even in front of you, no, during face to face, they can really browse automatically the answer. So that's why I always give them, especially for major examination, case analysis.
Okay, thank you, Doc.
Yes, ma'am. Are you satisfied, ma'am, with my answer?
Opo.
Do we still have other questions from the participants?
Hello.
Hello.
Sarawar Marshall.
Yes, Dr. Kasim is.
We have comments here coming from the live feed on our Chedro 9 Facebook page. And according to Avenido Venus, thank you for emphasizing the format presented. Not prescripted with that institution can exercise academic freedom basing on the setup and existing needs of our school. We also have many comments coming from our group chat thanking Dr. Refugio and congratulating for a very understandable discussion on the syllabus making. It is very interesting and very helpful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Sham.
Okay. We still have questions from our participants. I have not seen raising their Can we ask our other participants to please turn off their microphones into mute mode? Okay, I think that's all.
Wala na akong video. Pag iwala lang akong video, wala. Wala mo video na ko.
We will now proceed to an intermission number, which will be given to us by one of the participants in Ireland's Got Talent. But before we will introduce him, I think Dr. Shamir prepared a presentation for our what do you call this? The one who is going to give us an intermission number. Dr. Shamir.
About to play.
I'm 29 years old. I'm a nurse and I live in Dublin. I applied for Ireland's Got Talent mainly because I want to inspire other people.
Na, naunsa naman to?
Oh, tawa. Pamarka mo na, kaon ka.
A pleasant day to everyone. I am Rodel Borja. I'm a nurse and a singer working here in Ireland, and I would like to dedicate a song to the deans and the program heads of the HUSACOM programs of Region 9, to all the participants of this webinar, especially to Dr. Shamir R. Kasim, who will be celebrating his birthday tomorrow. And this song is entitled Can't Help Falling in Love with You. Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you.
the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too. For I can't help falling in love with Like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my hand, take my whole life too. For I can't help falling in love with you. For I can't help falling in love with you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rodel P. Borja, an Ireland's Got Talent semi-finalist. And now we will proceed to the presentation of certificate to our speaker. May I call in Dr. Romeo C. Lopez, board member, BOT member, Dean of the Jose Rizal Memorial State University to present the certificate to our speaker.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes a todos. Magandang buhay sa lahat ng participants to this third series of webinar for the Council of Deans for Humanities, Social Sciences, and Communication with the social work. In behalf of the Council of Deans for Humanities, Social Science, and Communication programs with the social work, in coordination with the CHED RO9, we award the certificate of recognition to Dr. Joseph G. Rifoyo for being the resource speaker during the third of the series of webinars for Council of Deans for Humanities, Social Science, and Communication with the theme Syllabus Making, Core Enhancement Skills on the topic Syllabus Making, especially on OBE, held on June 30, 2020 at 1 p.m. via Zoom. Given this 30th day of June 2020 in Zamboanga City, Philippines. Signed, Glory Jean Leonen, President of the Council of Dean for Hosokong, and Dr. Rodi P. Garcia, OIC Regional Director. Thank you, Dr. Rifoyo. Our heartfelt, deep appreciation indeed.
Thank you very much, sir, and thank you very much for the council officers, and of course, our ever passionate education supervisor to Dr. Sham Kasim. Thank you very much for the recognition. So maybe our supervisor deserve a advance happy birthday song for all of us.
Yes.
Exactly.
Advance happy birthday. Can we offer a song to Dr. Shamir?
Yes, happy birthday song.
Can we start?
Kita,
Like
kita tahan.
one,
Go.
2, 3,
3.
go.
Happy
Happy
birthday to
birthday
you.
to
you.
you.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you.
Open.
Happy
Happy birthday.
birthday, happy birthday.
birthday, Dr. Shamer.
Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to
to
you. Everybody sing. Birthday to you.
Happy
Birthday
birthday
to
to
Ay, wala pa
you.
ko.
Happy
Happy birthday.
birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Happy
To
to
you.
you.
Happy birthday, Dr. Sham. Happy birthday.
Much to our participants for the third of the series of webinars for the Council of the Deans for Humanities and Social Sciences, Communications, and Social Work Programs for Region 9. Before we'll end, we will have the impression from Dr. Rovi M. Bangis, the PIO of this organization and the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences from the MSU Buog. Ma'am?
Thank you, sir. Before I will begin, allow me to greet a pleasant afternoon to the members and officers of the Council of Deans on Humanities, Social Sciences, Communication, and Social Work Programs in Region 9. I am immensely grateful to be part of this powerful team and this webinar series headed by Education Supervisor Dr. Shamir Arkisim. And the same gratitude is extended to our brilliant speaker, Dr. Joseph Refugio, the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Teacher Education and Biz Education from St. Vincent's College Incorporated. Thank you so much, Dr. Refugio, for that very elephantine and profound discussion on an illustration on syllabus making. Our speaker this afternoon enumerated to us the reasons why we need to revise and enrich our syllabi. And these are the reasons we need to comply for accreditation purposes. And this is also a result of our curriculum revision. This is to upgrade the relevance of our syllabi, to meet the learning styles of our 21st century learners, and to become innovative and productive. Aside from that, he also unveiled to us the basis for revision because of in response to ASEAN 2015 and in response to the Depth Ed K-12 challenges, and again for accreditation purposes because we have here PSGs, implementation of flexible learning for the incoming opening of classes for the academic year 2020-2021. And we also have CMOs dated last 2012 and 2020, mandating all HEIs to produce graduates with learning competency-based standard and outcomes-based system of quality and assurance. And our speaker also defined what is syllabus. He defined syllabus as a course guide for both teachers and students. So eventually, everything that we discussed should be in there, should be in the syllabus. So he also unveiled to us and enumerated the different elements of a syllabus. First, the course information, wherein information or significant details about the course and the student will be indicated in there, as well as the consultation hours. Second is the school's vision, mission, and goal together with the program's vision, mission, and goals. Third is about program outcomes following Bloom's taxonomy, no? And this should be behavioral terms, no? Following the OBE or the outcomes-based education. Fourth is the course description. Fifth, course learning outcomes, which should be connected to program outcomes, ensuring the higher order thinking skills. Sixth is about course outline. The calendar of activities throughout the semester should be indicated in there. Topics and time allotted, specific objectives, student learning outcomes, activities, learning resources, and assessment. And for the student learning outcomes, these are written from the student's perspective using clear language that is understandable by the students. And again, this should be measurable. And he also emphasized the components of SLO, or the student learning outcomes, which include content, learning activities, learning resources, and assessments. For learning activities, he made mention of content focus, interactive focus, problem solving, production reflection, and critical thinking. And for assessment tools, he also made mention of paper and pencil, journal, performance, portfolio, projects, informal observations, inventories, checklists, and reports. And these are all, these assessment tools are all applicable to online, blended, and offline. And he also discussed on learning resources. These are printed learning materials and recorded learning materials in digital formats. He also made mention of activities, learning resources, and assessment. He had illustration actually of an actual syllabus, no, using their school through online using hybrid model via Google Meet. So we can eventually have oral presentations via Google Meet through online. And then for blended, it's asynchronous. So we can use it, you can use Schoology, email or messenger, or recorded presentations. And for the offline, which we'll be using flex model, so we can use learning pockets, textbooks, and recorded presentations can be also applicable to that. And another element is on the teaching strategies. Now, these are the desired learning behavior, utilize varied learning strategies. So we can adopt oral reporting, assigned readings, visualization, recorded lectures, inquiry-based instructions, differentiate instructions. And part of the teaching strategy is we also have that grading and marking. And that is also related to the ninth element, which is assessment details, that we can do assessment details through online, blended, and offline, either e-portfolio and online presentations. The 10th element is course policy concerning on attendance, participation, academic integrity, netiquette, and others. And then lastly, the last element of syllabus is references. Sources of the topics, either textbooks or links or PDFs. And then he also give suggestions and preparation for the syllabus revision. We make sure that we follow that our format is in agreement to the standard format, and references should be updated at least 5 years back. And then we need to have a workshop or training, and then we need to create committee on syllabi. And lastly, what caught my attention is this saying that he said that we need to be proactive at all times to confront this challenging time. We need to act now, because although changes, the new normal can be strenuous, but these are all opportunities for us to purge and to grow. So by that, thank you so much again, Dr. Joseph Refugio, for that very elephantine, profound, comprehensive, and insightful discussion on syllabus making.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rovi Bangis, the PIO of this organization, and at the same time, the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, MSU Buog. But before we will end, may we call again Dr. Shamir Kasim. Of course, we are going to hear also his response on our birthday greetings to him, and also to give us an announcement for, I think, for our fourth and fifth webinar. Dr. Kasim?
So, well, thank you so much for the opportunity to thank everyone. I think that was actually the first time that I've heard a webinar having a birthday song to one of the moderators. Thank you so much, everyone. For the following reminders, the link of the certificate of attendance for today will be sent to your cell phones, and also screenshots of the presentations that were used during this webinar will also be posted in our FB group. I am also reminding those who have not yet submitted their picture with a poster saying congratulations and hashtag we learn as one to have it submitted already. For those who have submitted, thank you very much. As I have posted the fourth and the fifth webinar in our Facebook group, I would like to remind the deans, the program heads, the program coordinators that on the fourth and the fifth webinar, all the faculty who are teaching Yusukong programs must be present during our fourth and fifth webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kasim. And I think that
Sir,
concludes.
Sir Roel.
Yes, ma'am.
There are faculty who are social sciences, teaching social sciences. They are asking if they can join and how to register, or there is a need for them to register, or they just click the link that we have in the Facebook.
Ma'am, we actually do not have a Google link for the participants to pre-register. What they have to do is just to click the link on the messages that I'm sending you, especially on the fourth and the fifth webinar, because we need to have our faculty and join in this fourth and fifth webinar because this actually concerns them.
Yes. So they only go to the page, the Hosocom, CHED-Hosocom page.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I guess. Thank you so much, Professor Glory Jean Leonin, the president of this organization. And I think if there are no other questions, that concludes our third of series of webinar for the Council of the Deans and for Humanities, Social Science, Communication, and Social Work programs for Region 9. Thank you so much for all the participants.
Please turn on your video to have the photo opportunity first. First page. Second page. Just keep on smiling. And the last. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Each and everyone.
Thank you,
Blessed
Ate
day.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Happy birthday, Sir Shamir.
Happy
Thank you,
birthday,
ma'am.
Dr.
Take
Shamir.
off ka ba bukas, sir?
Birthday leave bukas.
Oh, madaya.
Sir Sham, happy birthday. Dito
Thank you,
blow out
ma'am. Hope to see you. Hope to see you on
promotion.
Friday.
Birthday.
Friday, sir, Thursday.
Friday.
Dapat, sir, sa Monday na.
Pwede
When
Monday
we're all
sir, kaya para kompleto ka.
Some are pleading. Happy birthday.